Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women. On this show, you will learn how to create wealth through real estate the blissful way. That means with very little stress and very little time. We talk about strategies, mindset, heart set, money smarts, resources, and so much more to ensure you're able to create the success you most deeply desire. Now, here's your host, Moneeka Sawyer.
Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show Sandra Estok. Sandra, founder of Way to Protect, is a cybersecurity keynote speaker, corporate trainer, and author of the international best-selling series, Happily Ever Cyber. I love that. Through her publication, Sandra is committed to share her journey, her experience, and expertise using simple concepts and inspirational stories to help others protect what most matters to them against hackers, scammers, and what she calls cybermonsters. She brings over 20 years of multicultural and cross-functional experience in the US, Latin America, and Europe in the areas of cybersecurity, IT, and data privacy. People pronounce it differently. Throughout her career, Sandra has held numerous positions in Fortune 500 companies, private and public organizations. Sandra holds an MBA and industry certificate in IT, cybersecurity, and data privacy. Hello there, Sandra. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Moneeka. I'm so excited to be here with you today.
Yeah, this is such an interesting topic, and I never even considered having anybody talk on this show until I met you, talk on this show about this until I met you. First of all, most people talking about cybersecurity make my brain feel like it's going to blow up. They're often very boring, which you are not. And I didn't really see a lot of the relevance with regards to real estate. So I'm really excited about what you're going to be talking about with relationship to real estate. But before we even get into that, could you tell us your amazing story about how you even got into this?
Absolutely. And it started many years ago. I was returning from visiting my mom, Moneeka. I was in Colombia. And as we were landing in Miami, the pilot announced that Homeland Security officers were boarding the plane. So I handed my passport with my work visa. And next thing I know, I'm the only one being marched off the plane and thrown into a room. You know that room, Moneeka, right?
Oh my God. Fortunately, I don't know that room, but
yeah. Well, that room that exists in every airport and in every country, there is a room. I'm escorted there. There are no phone calls. I don't know what's happening. My husband was waiting for me in Chicago, and I'm about to miss my connecting flight. 10 hours later, they handed back my passport, and it was revoked. I did not know what was happening, anything. And a few weeks later, I'm back in Venezuela, where I'm native, my native country, where I am from. And I have my employer, I have everyone supporting me. I have attorneys, and we're in the interview trying to get a new visa. And I'm in this interview, the officials kept asking me about China. And they were like, why were you in China? Who do you know in China? Who is your contact? And I'm like, I don't know what they are talking about. I never been in China, Moneeka. But somehow, I guess, a Chinese smuggler in China got a hold of my information and have been smuggling women into the US using my identity. So I convinced them, of course, that I'm not a smuggler, and I get my new visa. I come back home and everything is okay. This is the new part that I think we didn't go into last time, and it's 2 weeks later.
Yes.
I'm returning from Europe. My job was to travel, and that was part of what I did at the time. So I'm returning. I get off the plane. I get to passport control, and boom, I'm right back into the same room because I have to prove that I'm the real me over and over every time I travel for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when I Google my name, everything was in Chinese. Like I had import and export companies under my name. And of course, Moneeka, nobody wanted to travel with me, not even my own husband.
Oh.
Yes. Now I laugh, but at the time it was not funny at all.
Yeah.
And you know, finally I got my US citizenship, my passport, my, you know, my new name. I changed my name, and a year later I entered the world of cybersecurity after I got my US citizenship. And at the time I did not realize what happened to me. Like I was like, oh, okay, this is probably normal. And this was back in 2006. We didn't have a lot of news about cybersecurity. It was not like every day we see it now. Back then it was not. And being in only IT, I did not connect the dots. Now, a year later, I joined, and it blew my mind. Like understanding the Cybermonsters, which we can talk about that later, but understanding how it works, why, you know, why, how, who is behind all the cybercrime, and it became a passion. I was in the corporate world for a long time, and you know, the more I learned about cybersecurity, the more I got passionate about, and the more I wanted to share that passion in a different way. Because, you know, building programs, and I had many different positions, and building a team or building a program and teaching the employees of those companies that I work for, I discovered that I really enjoy that part. But there was something, like you just said it before, like, you know, it's boring. It's not. And, you know, it's not something appealing. Like there's nothing really exciting about, yay, cybersecurity. Yeah. And that's what I want to change, because the reality is identity theft, cybercrime can happen to any of us. And unless we know how and what to do, it could happen to, you know, to any of your audience, or it could happen to you as well. And
yeah. Well, it already has happened to me.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. Well, so many people in my family have experienced identity theft. So not cybersecurity as such, but identity theft. So it's a big deal, right? It happens to so many people, and cybersecurity. You know, we just don't think of it on a small scale. We think of that as that happens to the big companies. Those are the targets. Yep. But I would contend to say that the one-off, the onesies and twosies, this normal people, or consumers, we're actually the bigger target. Would you agree with me on that?
Absolutely. You know, 43% of all the hacks last year happened to small businesses. Like if you think about the industries, like financial industry, you have healthcare, and then you have small businesses. And in that, you know, you include all, you know, companies from probably, you know, 0 employees to 1,000 employees. That's usually considered small businesses, or 2,000. And 43% of all the hacks happen there. And real estate, and in, you know, your industry, it's one industry that is really impacted, because any industry that has money, it's a target, or it's a good place for hackers to get what they want. And it's either your identity or your, you know, the way to impersonate you so they can get what they want from you, which in most cases is money.
Right. So talk to me a little bit about how your approach is different with cybersecurity.
Yes, absolutely. I love this. Why? Yeah, and it I think it starts with that realization that cybersecurity is very personal, and that everything that we do, you know, every day in our lives somehow relates to technology. So why my approach is different? It's because I'm using that personal connection, or that personal stories that we all have, and connecting them into the cybersecurity, cybercrime, and identity theft world. So the way that I didn't even realize that, but throughout my life, there are many things that have happened to me that connect to cybersecurity in a way. And I'm a cyclist. I do yoga. I was kidnapped. You know, my identity was stolen. But somehow each part got a connection. And that's what I want to share, because this isn't my stories only. The most amazing thing that happens to me when I share either the stories or a training is that each person discovers their own story. And I think when we start making that connection, that now cybersecurity becomes personal. And now it's not something super technical. I'm not, I don't have to be a geek. There are many, 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 many things we all can do to reduce the chances of identity theft and cybercrime every day. And that's the muscle that I want to develop. And that's the muscle that I want all of us to start training. And when we see it that way, it's not overwhelming anymore.
Interesting. Could you tell us the biggest misconception that people might have about cybercrime?
It won't happen to me. It cannot happen to me because I'm not rich. In real estate, for example, I'm not selling. I'm just selling a small house, or I'm renting this property, and it won't happen to me. The reality is it can happen to anyone. And the amount of scams that were happening, especially in your industry last year, $149 million were lost just in scams related to real estate. Why? Because there are so many parties involved. And in this case, you have a buyer, you have a seller, you have titles, you have, all these many companies. And if every person in that chain think it won't happen to me, unfortunately, if it happens to at least one of those all parties involved, your whole deal could be in jeopardy. And that's where the loss happen. The money doesn't go to the seller, it actually goes into a different country, and you can't recover it.
That's really scary.
Yeah. So I will say, thinking that it won't happen to you, it's one misconception. The second misconception I would say is thinking that is all about technology and that is all technical. And with that, I will say, when we were kids, we learned how to cross the street, right? We learned to look, how to look both ways, or we learned probably not to stick things into electrical outlets like I did. So I learned that I shouldn't be doing that. And in the same way, if you think about cybersecurity, there are things that are common practice, common things that we all can do that can really reduce the chances of becoming a victim of cybercrime. So the misconception that it's only technology, it's not true. And I'll just give you an example if you want.
Yes, please.
When we have a phone call, and that phone call for a deal, like, you're expecting maybe a transaction to happen in your selling or buying a property. And someone calls you and say, hey, your either your social security, your EAN, or any of the information that is related to that property. We're going to validate that, you're going to get the best rate in your mortgage. You're going to have the best deal that you can have for this new investment. Most of us can recognize that that's a scam. And most of the time we hang up because they are easy to spot. Like, the IRS is not going to call you, the Social Security Service are not going to put you in jail. Most of us have developed that. And when we see a call and it's a scam, we react to it and we hang up. Now, there are many other things like that we will start developing. And one common thing is using your password and using one password that has meaning to you. And, for me, in I don't know if in my practice, I guess I mentioned that I do yoga and I do all these things. I use a password with an intention and an affirmation, and I use, it helps me to get centered. So, a password, you won't think that it could be used in a way that is, fun. you might think it's always have to be a lot of characters and boring, and, but you could use that password in a way that has meaning to you. And if you're an investor, or if you are buying a property and you want a big house on the beach, or you want, this you have a dream of something bigger for your life, you could use your password in a way that gets you to that dream.
That's that was kind of an interesting tangent. I love that.
Yes.
So actually that's really funny. I know this is a little bit of a tangent, ladies, but I just want to say that is a super tip right there. I use that one. So my password is also a declaration of something that, so some of them, it's a declaration of how I'm feeling, or some of them are declarations of something that I want for the future. And what's funny about that is that normally you should be changing your password every 3 months. Well, if it's a declaration or affirmation, it's fun to change it every 3 months too. And that's a really good security tip too, is you don't want to keep the same password for all your accounts. So you want to have some different ones that have meaning. But the other thing is you want to change them frequently. And so this is a good way to encourage yourself to change them frequently. That was very
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I love that. And you just hit it perfectly. I mean, a different password for every account is really important. Love that you just mentioned that, Monique, because if you get hacked, and if you get compromised, and let's say you have an account where you register, like you have a rental property, and that password, you have a password that lets you go into the portal to watch or to monitor what that rental property is doing, and somehow you use the same password for your Netflix account, and your Netflix account gets compromised. Now, if you're using the same password, guess what? Your other place where you have sensitive information about your real estate business could be compromised as well.
So that's a big important one.
Yes. So using a password manager, I will say it's, one of the best ways to, yes, have a very, very long phrase with your declaration, but then you don't have to remember all the other passwords, because we have so many other things that we have to remember and think about. And, a tool like that allows you to definitely keep track of your passwords and make it easy for you.
So talk to us a little bit more about the password manager. Do you have a favorite? And there are going to be a lot of ladies that are listening to this that this is the first time they're hearing it, right? Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so absolutely. So a password manager is just is a tool, and there are many different, either free versions or paid versions. When it comes to something that protects my passwords, I would feel more comfortable paying for a service that I know is going to have the more secure solution. So this is where one thing that I will caution on free. However, if you are an Apple person, there is a password manager that is embedded into your iPhone or iPad. So, and it's part of the iOS system. So, but there are many other versions, and there are many other companies that do this. So this is their business. And a password manager is that tool that it will integrate all your passwords that are associated with your email address. So if you're using 5 different email addresses, you can put it into your password manager, and it will scan everywhere you have a password, and it will bring that information to you. And the good thing is now you can see, you have a dashboard, and you have a tool that it will tell you where you're repeating the same password, how when was the last time you changed that password, how strong that password is, because one simple password of 7 characters can be break in less than 0.29 seconds. And
wow.
Yeah. So that's why, a password manager allows you to have that phrase. is your big declaration, your big inspirational or affirmation. And I love what you said. You change it every 3 months once you achieve that declaration. And it's just one more tool that you can use, because you have to type it so many times. So I say that phrase to myself every day. So my password makes me happy.
I love that. Do you have a password manager that you particularly like that you might recommend? I know you're not, so ladies, she's going to say what she likes. This is not necessarily a recommendation, right? You want to do your own research, but which ones do you like?
Yeah, so I mean, there are many. So I use Dashlane. It's one of them. The LastPass, OnePass.
What's the one you use? Too. What was that?
Dashlane.
Dashlane?
Dash.
Interesting. I've never heard of that one. Okay.
Yes. So what I like about that one is it includes a VPN, which it's it's a way that makes your connection more private. Mm-hmm. So think about you're going in a highway, and when you are in the internet, there are no roads. Like everyone is going, like all the cars are everywhere.
It's kind of like driving in India.
Oh yes, driving in Venezuela.
Right. Exactly.
But when you're using a VPN, it's like you're in your own freeway. Like it's just you, and then all the information you're sharing goes only through that tunnel or to that lane that you're going through. So nobody can enter your lane.
Got it.
So for especially in real estate, because you do so many transactions that are very important with money, I will suggest when you do those transactions, you activate your VPN, which there are either antivirus tools that will have a VPN included, or a password manager will have it, or you can have a VPN on its own. But in either case, every time you do a sensitive transaction, what I recommend is that you use that VPN service, because that way your information cannot be taken.
Interesting.
And we can go into that. What does that mean? If you want to.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me.
Yeah. So let's say you are in a public place and you're using public Wi-Fi. Unfortunately, when you use public services, in the same way you have access to those public services, cybermonsters or hackers or cybercriminals, cybermonsters, I call them, have also access to that. And they, even if you're sending a simple email, they can intercept that information. And why is that important on your business or in real estate? Well, think about you are buying a property or you're selling a property, and you're connecting with your buyer, seller, and you are interchanging emails. If I am in a public place and I saw that house went for sale, because it's all public records, it goes to the MLS, you see that, and now I can start watching the communication between the two parties. And when I intercept that information, I can know more details when that close is going to happen. And as that day approaches, what has happened and this is one way the scams have happened, is that the person that is supposed to do the transfer of the money receives an email with fake information on the account, but you are seeing it real, because it's impersonating that other person. You just talk with that person. But if I'm watching your email and I'm watching how you communicate and what language do you use and how you greet each other, it's easier for me to impersonate that agent or that lawyer or that person and send you a bank account that it's not real. And it sounds really like a movie, but if you search online, you can see how many people have fallen for this, and in the real estate, how many people have lost all the money because you went to a foreign country and it cannot be recovered.
So I know in Extra, you're going to be talking specifically about how to protect your email, right?
Yes.
So ladies, just make sure that you stay tuned for that, because this is a horrifying story. She just told us. So in Extra, we're going to be talking about how to protect your emails. Are there some other things that we can do, right? Like basic things that we can do that can help us to protect ourselves? Ladies, we're recording this at the end of the day, and evidently my mouth is not working. Sorry about that. But anyway, so yeah, what are some other things that we can do, some little tidbits that ladies can do to protect themselves?
Absolutely. I love your show, and I love when because you have a lot of guests that always are bringing positive and good vibes, and there are many different topics. And one topic that comes to my mind, which it's not usually connected to cybersecurity, is mindfulness. And when you are present, when you are like right now, if I'm going to do email, or if I'm going to go into social media, or if I'm going to, do this deal, when I'm, practicing mindfulness, I'm less at risk of becoming a victim of cybercrime. So something that simple as being present when you do your work can be a significant game changer if for identity theft or cybercrime.
Give me an example of that. I mean, I've got about 10 that I can give you, but I'm sure you've got some good ones.
Yeah, I love to hear yours too.
Well, frequently you'll get something that says in your email that we need, it's time for you to change your password. Please press this link and go, and then you have to put in your old password and you have to put in a new password. Excellent. Right? But if you look at the page that it actually goes to, it's not the actual page where you're changing the password. It's a different it was masked and it's different, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's one, that if you don't ever put in a password unless you actually go to the site where you like physically you yourself go to that site and change the password there. Don't do it through a link that's sent to you in email. And you know what? The thing is that sometimes we're moving so fast, right? We're like, oh my gosh, I got to get that done. You like go, you get it done, and then you move on, and then you're like, oops, I just gave somebody my password, right? Then you go through and you have to change all your passwords. So that's one of them. Another one is entering your email address. A similar sort of situation, right? You're asked for your email address so that they can send you a verification, but you send that email address to someplace that's not where you thought and now suddenly your email has been completely hacked. So those are a couple that I know my husband and I have experienced. How about you? What are your stories?
Those are amazing. Excellent. Yes. Congratulations, Moneeka, for being attentive to all of those, and good job on keeping an eye on those emails or those things that can happen. I can give you one example that has happened a lot, and is related to when you do your banking.
Yes.
So what has happened is you get, most banks will have a two authentication, or a two way to verify that you are really you.
Yes.
Right. So they send you a text message and they say, hey,
someone's trying to get into your account. Is this you? Type of thing.
Yeah. Or even if you're not trying to get into your account, but when you have to sign up for your banking, it will ask, to validate that you are you, and it will require a PIN number that you have to enter to say that's you. Well, one way that cybermonsters have figured out is they will try to impersonate you. So there is a lot of information available of all of us for the data breaches or the hacks. So they call the bank and they send you, they try to log into your bank account like you, right? So they are not going to have that PIN number. So that PIN number, they are going to request the bank to send you a new one. Or, like when you go to your online banking and you say, I forgot my password, and you forgot your password, and it will email you or text you that, validation.
Yes.
That scammer or that cyber monster will call you and will say, hey, we are from this bank. We just send you a verification code. And you will be surprised how many people didn't read the entire email or the entire text. And that is actually a request for your password to be changed. So you give that text or that PIN number to whoever is, to the person that is calling you to validate. In some cases, they call you and say, hey, we are seeing transactions in your account. We're going to stop the hacker. So they are pretending that they are saving you when in reality they are hacking you right there. So that's mindfulness going to so many levels, because whatever situation you are in, my advice is just don't take an action. Just breathe. And if it's your bank that is calling you, what I will do is I hang up and I take my credit card number, or I have my contacts in my bank and I will call them directly. Like whatever it is, you can have few seconds where you can breathe and then think about, okay, what action do I have to do? Call the bank, call whoever is, you need to call, and validate that the information that you're receiving is actually valid.
Mm-hmm. That's so good. What I really love about that is about what you just said is so much of the time we get these phone calls. Well, not so much of the time, right? But often we'll get a phone call from our bank or from our credit card company, or, is this charge valid? Are you in this location? Whatever, yeah. Right? And we think, oh my gosh, this is an authority, right? This is the bank, mm-hmm. and I don't get my money unless I cooperate with the bank. But what you just said is it may not be the bank, right? So it's okay to say, hold on, this isn't a great time to chat. Let me just call you right back. You hang up and you call the numbers that you know. It's the same sort of thing as verifying where you're putting your passwords in online, right? Make sure you check the URL, right? Yes. So, and I've never done that before. That's amazing, right? Because you can just say, I'll call you right back, or this connection isn't good. I'll call you right back. You don't need to be rude, but you do need to take a couple more minutes. This is going to be more time out of your own schedule, but is it worth it, right?
Well, if you think about that, few seconds can save you, days or months. In my case, 6 years of a nightmare. So if you put it into perspective, how much can you lose, for just making that extra phone call? And it's the same in whatever transaction you're doing, validating what it is that you're doing.
Wow, such an interesting perspective. I just love that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
So Sandra, tell my ladies how they can reach you if they want more of this really good stuff.
Absolutely. So they can visit me at happilyevercyber.com, and they can get in there. I have a gift for them. It's the 3 critical but super simple steps they can take to start protecting their information. And they also have access to download a checklist. And I did this checklist with, all the years working in cybersecurity, data privacy. I kind of incorporated all the things that at a minimum we should be doing to keep ourselves safe. And, love for them to get that information. And if you don't know, like if it's something that you have never heard before, or you don't know how to do it, do not worry, because what I am committed to do is develop content, and my books is a book series where I will be creating books that are more specific about different areas. So a book only about social media, and a book of how to protect your identity, or how to protect your passwords, or how to protect your computer. So you really don't have to. You can't protect everything. What I always say is you have to know what matters most to you and start there and pick 3 things that you care the most. And when you protect those 3, you can pick another 3 and another 3. And, you don't have to overwhelm yourself with, I got to do all of this. No. Yeah. That's the misconception that I want, us to acknowledge. If someone it's coming, don't make it easy for cyber to hack you. So, but start taking the action to end that. And you don't have to, when we are training, you don't really start with a marathon.
Right. That's right.
So you start, so in the same way, that's how we're going to build a muscle. And I'm so committed to make it easy, to make it as fun, to make it as relevant to what matters most to you as possible.
Great. You know, the thing that comes to mind for me is technology is changing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
What was relevant 6 months ago is not relevant now, right? Do you feel like with regards to cybersecurity, things are constantly evolving and what we need to do changes? Or do you feel there's like a baseline of things that we need to do and then we can improve it later by working with a professional like you? Or how much do we have to pay attention to? Basically, the question is it always changing? Is this something I constantly have to be thinking about and be aware of? Right?
Yeah, I love this question. The answer is both.
Okay.
Things are always changing, but there are many things that when we don't take care of the basics, that's when we make it easy for cyber monsters to get into our lives. And I'll just give you, an example with this one. So if you are in your house and you see holes in the walls of your house, and you get up the next day and you see another hole and another hole, and you're like, whoa, people can sneak through through any of those holes and show up in my living room where my kids or my family or my business is. And when we see all of that, we most probably will take action right away and close those holes, because, right? Wouldn't you do that?
Yeah.
So in the same way, when we don't update our computers and our phones, it's literally, they have holes in the programs or in the operating systems. And those are the holes that cyber monsters take advantage of it. So if you are using a computer and you never update it, and that's one basic thing, no matter how new technologies are come and the new thing or the refrigerator is talking to you, but if you don't do that basic thing, which is update your devices and your computer, you're living with open holes that allow cyber monsters to easily break in.
Got it.
So and that's why I say it's either, it's both. Yes, new technologies are here and cyber monsters are always looking for ways to break in and to innovate. But at the same time, we use technology, and if we don't do the basics, we make it easy for them.
Got it. That's so good. Okay. Great. Good. So we're going to be talking about email and extra. I'm really excited about that and sort of how to avoid this situation that you talked about, right? Where there's a transaction, the emails get intercepted, your money goes somewhere that it shouldn't be going. And I'm sure there's many other examples, but that's a really good one. But so we're going to be talking about that in extra. But before we close the show, are you ready for our 3 rapid fire questions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Sandra, tell us one super tip on getting started in real estate investing.
Absolutely. I will say be passionate. That's my, if you are going to invest, either being a buyer, a renter, or have a business, just make sure that that is your passion. Because when that happens, you will breathe and you will dream and you will live for that. And that there's no better feeling than being passionate about and doing what you love to do.
I love that. And then what is one strategy on being successful in real estate investing?
Yeah, I will say have someone that can, if you're a beginner, have someone that can guide you through the troops, or through your journey, I guess.
Yes.
In my case, I have so many mentors and so many people helping me through the process, either it's in real estate or business. I always seek for someone that knows what it's doing. I'm buying and selling a house right now. So I believe me, I will never do it without the help of experts, because this is what they do. And they can learn if that's my passion, and if it's not, something I want to do, I want to do it right. So always seek for someone with that expertise that can take you much faster to wherever you want to go.
Oh, good. I love that. I love the way you said that. Always find somebody that can get you faster to the place that you want to go. That's so good. I love that. That's a good soundbite. Love it. And then what is one daily practice you do, Sandra, that you would say contributes to your personal success?
Gratitude. I mean, there is not a single day that I wake up and I'm not, grateful for another day, grateful for another opportunity to play, for opportunity to serve. And even in the tough moments, and even in the, when you're not happy, when something didn't go right, I use gratitude. And it's amazing how fast I get off whatever negative emotion I am, and how much clarity I get, and how much, even if the situation was tough, how much I understand that it was for good, that it happened that way. Yeah. And so I'm always grateful for everything.
I love that. Yay! Sandra, yes. Thank you so much for everything you've offered on this portion of the show. I can't wait to talk more in extra, but thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So remember, just practicing mindfulness, just be present, and that alone will help you so much to reduce the chances of being a victim of identity theft or cybercrime, and it makes you enjoy much more what you're doing, which is investing.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And ladies, so if you are subscribed to Estra, stay tuned. We're going to be talking about how to protect yourself in email. This is that thing that we use all the time, every day, for everything we're doing, right? And it makes us vulnerable in certain ways. And so we're going to be talking about how to reduce that vulnerability in your email in Extra. This is relevant for everybody. So if you're not subscribed to Extra, go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com and sign up. You get the first 7 days for free. So get this Extra and find out how to protect yourself. And then you can listen to as many as you like in the first 7 days. If you love it, then you stick with it. If not, you can unsubscribe. No big deal. So go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. For those of you that are leaving us now, thank you so much for joining us. You know how much I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll see you next time. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to find out more about how to become a blissful millionaire, go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.